Thank you for taking the time to watch this episode of Life Support. If you enjoy the content, we would ask that you like it, hit subscribe, and share it with your friends.
We can have a second chance. We know this because we've had them before. We've wasted them before. But now, if only we could have one more, no matter what we've done, we can have. And no matter what we've done, we deserve another second chance.
When it comes to second chances, not that you run out of second chances with God. You never run out of chances with God. But people will put themselves in scenarios that will not allow them to come out. And I say that because I travel this United States. And I've been back to several places where I've been in. And I've been able to love on some people that were addicted to heroin or opiates, and they want out so bad, and they've tried time and time and time again, but they just keep going back to the same thing and doing the same thing, and they have no change in their life. And so when I go back 4 months later, and their mother comes up with tears in their eyes and says, you know, after you spoke and you gave your testimony, they were great for 2 months. But when they went back harder and more intense this time, and they're not here anymore. That's why I think that it's so important that every chance that you get, you work it as if it's your last one. Every time you get a break in your life, every time God opens up a window, you walk through that window as if there's never going to be another door, there's never going to be another window, that this is the last time, because you never know what's going to happen. So, yes, I believe in second chance after second chance, but I think that you can put yourself in a position where you just come to the end of them yourself. People give up on themselves.
So how do we make sure that our next second chance is the last one we will ever need? How do we not give up on ourselves? Number 1, realize the need.
They ended up letting me go that day, and I was able to go pick up my daughter from daycare and go back home, but they sent me a ticket in the mail, and I had to appear in court for that. So I'm a new mom. I was on Section 8 housing at the time, and I was looking at a felony conviction for 5th-degree felony possession of drugs. And so they gave me a chance to do treatment and be on probation, but I couldn't quit smoking weed. And so I ended up going to prison on that 5th-degree charge after a couple probation violations. My daughter was 2 at the time, 2.5 maybe, and she actually learned to read in the Shakopee Women's Prison visiting room in my first bit in prison.
Part of realizing we need a second chance is accepting this fact. We need to do things differently. The old way is what got us here. The old way is why we need another chance.
What would happen for me, like I would get these chances to do well, and the thing that always led me back to that lifestyle was getting heavy, like my weight, and getting lonely. would be triggers for me to, I can just go to the bar and hang out. And, drinking was never a problem for me. It was the drugs. And I could rationalize in my head that because I wanted to have community, bad or good, that my loneliness was a reason for me to go back. And so I would, go to the bar or go hang out in places I knew that I didn't belong. And then I would start seeing people that I knew and end up right back making bad decisions again. It always happened really quick. So my good intentions without a plan for what a solid, positive second chance would look like always ended me back up at the bar and back up in a bad relationship and back up in trouble pretty fast.
Old habits die hard. We go back to what we know. Especially if we don't know what else to do.
Not knowing how to care for them and provide for them, financially was the biggest thing. And that's what kept bringing me back, is because I didn't have skills. I didn't have anyone telling me, here's how you can go and get a job. Here's a job that you can get that can help you to provide for him. This is how you can do that. So instead I sold drugs and tried to maintain a semi-healthy home for him at the same time. At the same time, when you are selling drugs and selling methamphetamines, you're doing them. You have to.
We go back to what we know, especially if we are desperate.
I decided a good idea to sell drugs again because I can make money. Because after I kicked the boyfriend out, I didn't have his income any longer. And then I stopped receiving child support from my son's dad. So I was really kind of in dire straits. And me being the person that I am, I know how to make money. I can go and make money fairly quickly. So I decide I'm going to do that. I get caught, obviously, because I get caught at everything. But I get caught. So now I have 2 D-dubs and 2 drug possession charges. And all in the matter of a couple years. And as I'm fighting these things and trying to figure out what I'm going to do with my legal situation, because I'm on probation for the federal stuff still, they decide they're going to revoke my probation for the federal and send me back to federal prison. So I go back.
And saddest of all, we go back to what we know, especially if we believe it's all we deserve.
I got out of that 90 days, and you would have thought that I never heard a word this man said. I'm giving you an opportunity to change your life. I'm not going to put you in prison. I'm going to put you here in this place where you can still be close to your family and your kids and your mom and, all of these things. And I got out there and I really went ham. Now, mind you, I'm still on federal probation. So the FBI is going to be chasing me if I don't show up for my probation appointment. I didn't show up. I was at the crack house. I could not walk in that blessing. I still didn't believe I deserved it.
I feel like now, looking back on it, it needed to run its course. I needed to fall down and bump my head hard enough to understand not only that I needed a second chance, but that I was worth a second chance. And that took a long time to get there.
Number 2, recognize a second chance when you see it. Once we are ready, we need to start paying attention. Second chances always come, but often in ways we wouldn't expect. At first glance, a a second chance might look more like a problem.
I got a letter of eviction or no, not eviction. They were not going to be renewing my lease. And so that meant I had to find a place to live. And I did. I just started looking for a place. I came across a place in Robbinsdale. I had no idea how I was going to pay the rent. It was above my means. But I thought, it's in a part of town where my kids are. And I knew that they loved that part of town and they would gravitate towards me. And so I got David to come and live in the lower level. And then slowly after that, Devin came home. I was getting Destiny on the weekends. And Dylan was still with my brother. So slowly, God started repairing each and every relationship. My sister, who is very responsible, ended up homeless for 30 days just because she was waiting in between places. So she had to come and stay with me, and we got to mend our relationship during that 30 days. And just one by one, my relationships began to be restored.
At first glance, a second chance might look more like a punishment.
And he said, and I want to tell you a story about a young man that I had, and I'll say Mr. Davis was his name. And he said, Mr. Davis came in and out of my courtroom for 22 years. And in and out of prison for 40 because he couldn't obey the rules. He just could not go to his probation officer. He could not have a clean UA. So he spent what would have been a 2-year sentence of 40 years going in and out of prison because he couldn't obey the rules. So what I'm going to do for you is I am going to have you execute all your probation time so that you never have to see your probation officer again because you don't obey the rules and I like you. Well, I was like, you like me? That's almost 3 years and la, 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 la. Huh, what do you mean you like me? I mean, I'm going to be away from my family. He's like, yeah, we tried that one. Tried to keep you close to your family. Did what we could. Sent you to Volunteers of America. You couldn't comply. And so I cried and I weeped and I cried and I weeped and he stuck to it. And that was the 3rd time I went to prison. And that's what stuck.
Other times, they're pretty hard to miss. Sometimes, second chances look a lot like miracles. After hope seems lost, a second chance at motherhood.
Mother's Day of 2003, I called home and wished my mom a happy Mother's Day. And she said, Gina, the kids are back home. The adoptive family decided after like 10 months of having adopted my beautiful please and thank you kids, that it wasn't God's plan for their life to be parents. And at that moment, in that little tiny box in the phone call room at Shakopee, my heart broke. It really felt like God reached down out of heaven and hit the reset button on my life. And so it was, in a moment, like a light switch turning on, that I saw myself differently.
My kids watched me, and through time, that trust has been built back. And I now have 3 beautiful grandkids, and God has given me the opportunity. I might have missed it as a mom, but I can be a great Mimi, and that's where I stand today, and just, he's given me the opportunity to fly to Japan and see my daughter and son-in-law and grandson, and to even have a passport today with 46 felonies, or take them to Disney for Christmas. And he's just really blessed me to be able to, be a good Mimi and mom also now, even though, despite my past, he's really taught me that my past doesn't determine my future.
After hope seems lost, a second chance at life without addiction.
I sat in a jail cell for almost 12 months without a court date, and a 4-person cell with 13 women in it. When I did leave, it was deemed unfit for human inhabitants. It was a very rough time, and like I said, I'd given up. completely while I was in there. My dad told me about a place called Teen Challenge, and this was before it was very popular in the courts. My dad had to smuggle the application into me, and he gave it to his pastor to bring to me, and that's how we were able to get it in, because he tried to bring it in other ways and they said no. So that was the only way that he could get that into me. Even my probation officer said there's absolutely no way that she should go to Teen Challenge. The judge told me, I'll see you, and when I do, you're gonna do the full 128 months in prison, and you're gonna pay a $1 million fine. He also said no one ever gets over a meth addiction. Well, I did, and here I am.
After hope seems lost, a second chance at life.
Oh, he had brought me so far, being around the life of crime, seeing people get hurt, shot, and killed, that I don't have any of those type of battle wounds, Been in the many wrong places at the wrong time. And I was able to walk out with my life, And, people say when they get in trouble, oh, Lord, if you just let me get out of this, I ain't gonna do it. I don't know. Let me be honest with you, I said it many of times and went right on back into doing wrong, And I just said one day, Lord, he is not gonna let me get out of that.
Why do you think, because God knew you weren't gonna change, why do you think he stuck with you?
I think he's seen something in me that I didn't probably see in myself at that time. That's what I think.
When I went to prison, after not being on my medications for 4 years, I met with a doctor there, and she had to tell me that my HIV had progressed to AIDS. So I was in end-stage HIV disease. I could have gotten sick and died at any point. My immune system was severely depleted. So it kind of changed something in my head. I couldn't be in denial anymore. And I realized that I do want to live. I might have been behaving as if I don't, but when it came down to it, and, she said those words to me, I just knew that I wanted to live. So I very much have a second chance in the fact that I didn't get sick. I didn't catch an illness while my immune system was gone. My body responded to the medications. I was able to get back to a healthy state. So that was a huge second chance just at life.
Number 3, no, it won't be easy. Getting second chances isn't the hard part. The world is filled with kind people, and God never gives up on his children. The hard part is making them stick.
When I got out, it was a struggle. There's always a struggle when you get out, because trying to find out where you belong, finding resources is really hard. And, I was a felon in trying to find a job, trying to find, housing, trying to find, come from the ground up, with nothing, and bring myself up. And I struggled with that.
We may know we are different now, but the rest of the world may take a while to believe it.
When I came out of prison the third time, everybody's like, you were so great back in the day, and you were gonna be a superstar, but your life, get a day job, basically. Why would you even pursue this? You're pretty much, everybody knows what you've been through. They're gonna be gun shy to have you come and do shows because you don't show up. You're normally at the crack house. They're not getting my life being changed.
It's hard integrating back into society with a felony and with all these labels that other people give you and labels that you give yourself. Society will tell me I'm a felon, I'm a criminal, I'm a drug dealer. At the same time, I'm telling myself, you're dirty, you're diseased, you're a whore, you are a prostitute. So all these labels.
No, it won't be easy, but we must keep believing.
Just to get the chance to get out of prison and actually say, you know what, those labels, that's not me, and that doesn't describe me. And working on becoming a person that I'm proud of and that I want to be, and choosing the labels instead of letting other people choose them, and running into people who give me second chances, like employers or landlords, people who will go to bat for me. I've been very lucky to build a strong support system and have people give me that second chance that say, yeah, you look terrible on paper, but hearing you talk to me and explain things and knowing the person you are now, I'm not worried about that. I'm worried about you today.
Number 4, keep moving forward. Once we decide we want a second chance, once we believe we deserve it, and once we've stepped toward it, we must keep moving into it.
What does it feel like to have peace? You certainly don't have that when you are every day on a mission to find a way to get crack, smoke crack, do this, do that. Every day on a mission to find a way to manipulate and steal, and there's no peace in that. But I immediately was overcome with peace when I made that true commitment to walking in that second chance God gave me. Third, fourth, fifth, 20th, 100th chance he gave me.
Obstacles become opportunities when we are dedicated to making this second chance our last second chance.
Required community service hours. Don't just do the first thing that pops in your head. Something I did that I think helped me immensely was say, I want to do these 96 hours of community service in meaningful ways. So one thing I did was to get in touch with Breaking Free, who works with people who have been trafficked. And the other thing I did was get in touch with the Minnesota AIDS Project. And that started my career in public speaking. That started my work in the nonprofit field. I have a solid career now. I have people that value my past. Instead of looking and saying you have a felony, they say, you know what? You can relate with a lot of our clients that are going through stuff, so that's an asset. So, keep trying.
Even though the way is unfamiliar, we must keep moving forward. Someone might be waiting for us to be their second chance.
So sometimes it'd be a divine setup. Your past be a divine setup for you to go back and rescue others from the lifestyle that you just got out of.
Even though the telling is uncomfortable, our story, all those wasted chances, might be just what someone else needs to hear in order to change their story.
Where my natural self, people aren't going to like you if you tell them about those things. Or, and the funny thing is that my deepest, darkest secrets, the things that I would rather not talk about at all, are the things that God is using in this season of my life to help people that still need a second chance.
One time during a suicide attempt, blood everywhere, I'm being hauled off in an ambulance. My son David, who was probably about maybe 9, walked in and witnessed all this. And when I'm being hauled away in the ambulance, David was yelling at the moon, yelling at God probably. And so my mother told him this story to give him hope. The way the story goes is she was coming down the hallway with her basket of laundry. I was a little baby playing on my blanket. And she said all of a sudden she heard this voice from within her, not around her, but from within her. And the voice suddenly told her that I was going to hurt her really, really bad. And it scared her. But the second part came, and the voice told her not to worry because it would only be for a short time, and then Jenny was going to help a lot of people. So she tells this story to David after he was yelling at the moon, and she was walking him up and down the block and saying, I don't want you to worry about your mom, David, because there's a second part. The prophecy is your mom's going to help a lot of people. So, different times I'd go to treatment. David would call my mom, Grandma, is the second part of the prophecy here? I don't know, David. We have to wait and see. Well, when Breaking Free asked me to speak at their annual breakfast, which I thought was a breakfast at Embers, with like 5 people, and I open up the door to the hotel and there's 1,500 people and reporters and TV cameras and lawyers and policemen and all these people. Well, then my mom told me the story. And she said, this is your coming out, Jenny. So the second part of the prophecy is here. And I just got hopeful. It was 1,500 people I had to tell my story to. And I got this standing ovation and all these pieces of self-worth coming back when I was done. So that's why I keep telling my story.
No matter what we've done, we can have. And no matter what we've done, we deserve another second chance.